We have principal's report. I don't see Kristen here.
Kristen
so
is
do we,
on
Stephanie?
vacation.
Right.
She's on vacation, so we have the spring athletic summary. John Schreiber, assistant principal of athletics interim, and Tom Doman, assistant principal athletics interim.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to present you with some of the team accomplishments. You saw the individual accomplishments from the teams up there and some of the pay-to-play numbers and some of the participation numbers. Being there's 3 new board members, we do this each season, fall, excuse me, fall, winter, and spring, and try to give you a track record over 3 to 4 years or 5 on how each season has changed. The first document, which has some of the comparisons here, this year we saw a significant increase in participation for the boys water polo. They went from 18 to 23, and girls badminton from 39 to 48. Those were nice changes. Boys tennis had a slight increase of 18 to 20, so not much difference. And girls soccer, 60 to 59, basically stayed the same. Boys volleyball, baseball, water polo, and softball had slight decreases, but not anything significant. They're all playing at all their levels, so they're still completely competitive at all levels. Boys track and girls track did see decreases this year in some numbers, and we believe that decrease is temporary and will change hopefully in year to year to classes and different incoming freshmen and things like that. John?
I think that also one of the reasons why you'll see a slight decrease this year, we had certain activities in certain clubs. Dave Mann will be talking about some of those. Lacrosse took some of the athletes, which is good because they're participating and they're doing an activity that they prefer to do, so that you're going to see some of those changes for the next couple of years. So that might be a slight drop off possibly for those. But wanted to mention that.
I'll take the female sports and Special Olympics, which is co-ed.
So you're going back to which sheet, Tom? So
The kind of the spring athletic summary, just to recap how the teams did for the girls' sports. Starting with special ed, which is again co-ed, they competed at the May 7th spring games that were a state qualifying meet at COD, which I had the pleasure of attending and watching, and the kids had a really nice day. We were well represented. We had again those people that were honored here, and again the state meet that was just held at ISU June 10th was the culmination of what they went through to prepare for that. Other girls' sports now, they start badminton this year. We had new coaches, Jim and Miguel took over this year and did an outstanding job. Their records were very good, and they also placed first place in our independent conference, which we participated in at the end of the year, and third place varsity sectional meet, qualifying them. Not qualifying them for the state, but they were highly rated in the sectional, so it was good. They also had a first place finish at our RB invite. The girls soccer team had a 10-5-2 overall record, and the JV was 11-5. So again, a nice winning record with a lot of participants. Again, we're competing at 3 levels in the soccer, and both teams were in second place in our conference. Softball had an outstanding record this year, 26-10. They were second place in the conference, and just basically were 1 throw and 1 pitch away from being conference champions. They won the regional of the state, which again is a very difficult thing to do. Baseball, softball regionals are hard to come by. And they played an outstanding Maris team in the IHSA sectional, which they lost to. But again, the lower levels had really nice records, 20-4 for JV, 16-4 for freshmen, and we had a lot of freshmen participating. Girls track, again, we had a 6th place finish in our conference. We were 3rd on the JV level, so there was some improvement there. And again, we had a lot of all academic kids that came out this year, and so that's a good sign for them learning and getting better for the future years. And John will have the boys' seasons.
Did you have girls water polo?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We can have
second page.
girls water polo
Girls.
coach maybe can help us out with your season if you'd like to say a couple words.
Well, it wasn't glowing, but the benefit is we returned pretty much the whole team. So we were 11-18, had some success in some invites. For the second consecutive year, we had 3 girls finish, make all sectionals, which is
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, for boys' sports in the spring, we start off with baseball. Varsity baseball, they set a goal this year for a 20-win season. They did achieve that. Their final record was 21-9. They go through kind of a gauntlet when they go into their regional. And they made it to the regional championship and lost to St. Lawrence, who was #1 in the state. So tough road for them, but a very good season. And you heard about some of the athletes that had fine seasons for our baseball team. Good lower levels as well. Sophomores were 16-6 overall. Freshmen 15-7. The miserable weather kept our numbers down as far as contests. So hopefully we'll be getting closer to our 35 scheduled games next spring. Next we had boys tennis. Kind of a middle-of-the-road season for them with some newcomers and some young guys playing on the varsity. They finished with a record of 5-8 overall. They took third place at the Metro Suburban Conference Tournament, and they did play at the sectional at Lyons Township, which was a tough one for us to get out of, but had a couple good individual efforts and looked for a lot of improvement, a decent lower level with a 2-6-1 record, but some experience with young guys on the varsity, like I said. Boys track and field had a really fantastic spring. Metro Suburban Conference champions, 5th year in a row, so they take a lot of pride in what they're doing with the conference meet. Second place this year at a tough LT sectional I was attending, and great efforts, and we qualified some boys to get downstate. We had 10 state qualifiers that came out of that sectional, and we took second place at the 47th annual RB Bulldog Relays. And you heard about the state qualifiers and really a lot of good senior efforts, cross-country carried over to track and did a fine job, so we're going to miss those guys. Boys volleyball, another back-to-back outstanding season for them. Coach Bonarigo's had 2 good volleyball seasons this year, with the girls making the super sectionals. Now the boys made it to the sectional finals and lost a tough contest. They had 30 wins, which was really good, 30-9 overall. They were the Willowbrook Invite champions. I know Tom went to that. It's a tough invite that they were champions. They were IHSA regional champs. They were IHSA sectional finalists. And good lower levels coming up. So we did have 9 seniors graduate, so it's going to be tough to replace, but Coach Bonarigo does a nice job with them. And then last, we had our boys water polo team, which had the most wins they've had since almost the inception of boys water polo, with a 14-win season. They lost in the IHSA sectional. They got a good nucleus coming up, 8 wins on the JV level. So I did mention also that Joey Rosa received a certificate today, so he may not even be aware that he was all sectional second team. I'll turn it back over to Tom for, do you want to do numbers?
Yeah, there's some questions on which sports are currently being cut sports and which ones aren't. So this year, softball did cut some players, baseball, and that's been for years, and boys volleyball. Otherwise, the other sports kept all the kids that came out and participated with the numbers that were shown on the board there.
And I think in reference to where the cuts come from, probably, and when I talked to our baseball coach, mainly just a couple boys at the upper level on the varsity, but we pretty much keep all freshmen involved and try and hook them and get them into some activity. If they don't make a sport, then we're obviously encouraging them to try a no-cut sport, and there are many of those available in the springtime.
That's what I want, what I'm not clear on. It seems like the cut and no-cut sports change from year to year.
Well, a sport becomes a no-cut sport when there's not enough kids that come out. So let's say like badminton could have had a cut if overwhelmingly number of girls came out. This year they didn't have enough that they needed to have a cut so they could play them all.
You know, like in badminton this year, we had 9 more kids come, and we played 3 levels in badminton, and they all got in there. But there's times where if 55 showed up, there would probably be 7 or 8 that would have no.
Let me ask the question a different way. If I just not knowing anything that's going on, I just look at the numbers. 2 of the sports that we cut people from had lower participation than last year now. So we had 52 players last year, and we had 46 this year, and we cut people.
So when it's cut,
So
it's not all 100% cut, is it? The JV and the freshmen are not
Pretty much it's at the upper level, that's what I
Right.
said. So with Coach Till's baseball program, there might have been some boys that didn't participate as juniors, came out for a senior year and didn't have any experience and wouldn't have got any playing time. So in that case, you're going to have a cut sport. The lower level, we didn't cut hardly any.
So for
There's-
example, baseball in 2013, there were 63 participants. This year, there's 46. I'm reading that to mean just freshmen and JV probably had a lot more.
Well,
They
probably freshman A and B at that time.
Okay, A and B.
Yeah, we can't offer a B because we
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
had the numbers at the freshman level. We would certainly add the schedule and the level if we had it.
Certain sports would indicate like position-wise too, like baseball and softball are pretty much, we talked saturated sports before. They have, 15 per level for baseball, and that's, you're not probably being able to play all those 15 all the time. So we're at, basically they're full. Sometimes an extra pitcher, an outfield might be kept, things like that, depending on things. But when you're at baseball and softball levels of 15 kids per level, that's, you can keep 18, doesn't mean they're playing.
How many levels are there in softball?
3.
There's 40, it went from 46 to 41. That's not 15 kids per level, is it?
Well, this year it went down 5.
Well, here's what my problem is. We're trying to get the participation up, and it seems like it's a moving target of which maybe it should be. But what I really want to know is, does a coach have to come to the athletic directors and say, if there wasn't a cut sport last year, they want to make it a cut sport this year? Or is it up to the coach to decide whether a sport becomes a cut sport or not?
I think we work with it together. It's not talked about, I don't think, as a cut sport the way you're talking about it. It's more as.
Well, I'm a simple-minded human being. If kids are going out for a sport and we want participation, I think people should know whether the sport is a cut sport or not, or if it's changing, why. And I think the athletic directors should know whether they're going to allow a sport to shift from a cut to a non-cut or vice versa.
Okay, so the best scenario is to have everything no cut. That's the best scenario you could have. There's some sports that dictate it can't happen.
Right, of course.
Okay, so that's why typically your baseball, softball, and volleyball, those are limited number of players that play at a time. Those are going to typically be your cut sports. Now, we might have a year where not enough boys come out and we don't cut anybody, so that became a no-cut sport.
Right.
So it's terminology, how you want to say it. But I can tell you for a fact that girls track will never cut, boys track will never cut, girls water polo may, but they're going to add a coach, so we're going to try and increase numbers there. Boys water polo hasn't had enough to have a cut. If it comes to the point where you're oversaturated, then it became a cut sport. So there's not a set.
We're not
line.
saying anything different.
Okay.
I completely agree with what you said,
Okay.
but my question is, who decides?
It's decided by who comes out, how many come out,
No.
and the level of.
So does the coach come to you after tryouts or the
Yes.
first week and
Yeah,
say,
we
hey, I
have
got
that-
22
We
kids?
have
I
that
can only
conversation
carry."
right away. We're always checking and saying, where you at, what's going on, let us know how, we have that dialogue.
Okay, that's what I think he's
That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
find out.
I'm sorry, yeah.
So
I
the
don't-
coach just couldn't arbitrarily
No,
say,
they
hey, I'm
come,
cutting
we
5 kids.
check them all before anyone gets cut, yeah. We
Okay.
want to make sure they have dialogue and
That's what I'm
recommended.
trying to figure out, that there's some
Absolutely, yeah.
direction,
And sometimes there's-
guidelines,
yeah.
and control on it.
Absolutely.
There's a specific skill that they may not even be close to having, and that's, determined sometimes on an older junior or senior, like in badminton, if you have no racket skill and never played, and we're at 48 kids, the odds of you getting in any match.
And again,
Yeah.
I'm not, you see what I'm trying to get at. Everything should
discussions
have a
are in.
policy and a procedure and a decision
We have the
making.
dialogue, exactly.
And I just want to make sure that if that changes, or that the athletic directors are signing off on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're having the conversation with them, so you know we are.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a couple things I wanted to add. We talked about the IHSA Academic Team Award. We had fall teams that qualified for it this winter. We just figured out it was a combination of the first semester, second semester GPA. You take all your varsity athletes, you total up their total GPAs, and these teams qualified. They'll be put up on the plaque by the athletic office. Boys swimming with a 3.46 GPA. Girls basketball had a 3.56 GPA. This is the entire team average. Cheerleading had a 3.23 GPA. Gymnastics, girls gymnastics had a 3.62 GPA, and POMS 3.25. They all qualified for the IHSA award. In the spring, baseball had a 3-point, you have to be 3.0 and above. Baseball was 3.11, boys tennis 3.49, boys track was a 3.88 GPA as a team. That's our biggest program in the spring. Boys water polo was a 3.43, badminton was a 3.48, girls soccer was a 3.57, softball was a 3.39, girls track was 3.38, and girls water polo was a 3.50. We also partner that up with taking attendance, and we offer the attendance initiative, and we always talk about and promote to the athletes, you show up, you do well in school, it's going to carry over to the playing field. And in the winter time, we average 96% daily attendance on all athletes in the winter. Boys, the winter was 96.1%. Girls gymnastics had a 97.7% attendance rate during the winter throughout those 3-month time span. In the spring, we averaged 96% overall for athletics, and the boys track program had a 97.3% attendance, and they had the most boys that we had in any sport. So credit to our coaching staff, credit to the kids for being in school, and obviously their grades showed up and they got on the IHSA all-academic team. So just want to present that to you.
Tom, John, thank you very much. We briefly, last time you guys were in front of the board, we had discussed in the fall about trying to do the conference realignment. Obviously, that did not work. Are there any updates that you want to provide the board on the current conference we are in and their restructuring?
Yeah, the current conference we're in is going to be exactly the same for this season, and then next year it'll change with the leaving of Glenbard South going to the Upstate 8 Conference. We're disappointed because they're a good competitor for us. So they'll be leaving, and also Ileana Christian will be leaving our conference. They're going to move the whole school to Indiana. So they'll no longer be in our conference. So obviously we're scrambling. We wanted to find replacements. So we did have some schools apply. So we'll be adding in 2018, Wheaton St. Francis will be in our conference. Aurora Christian will be in our conference. Rosary will come in on the girls' side. And who's the last one I'm missing?
Bishop Mack?
Bishop Mack will be the last school coming in. So the way we're going to do our conference in 2018 will be designated by strength of sport programs by each sport. So let's say, for example, in football, you're not going to be playing someone that's only got 200 kids in their school. It's going to be strength in numbers in your school. So RB will have probably a better experience overall, we believe, because we're going to be seeing better competition, which will get us ready for state tournament.
And you're still exploring for the board and for the school
We are.
district.
We're exploring for anything that
Conference that might align better with travel and
Correct.
consistent levels of participation.
Yes, we're always looking.
Will it change up any of the sports, whether it's a conference sport or not conference sport?
We will be adding a couple conference sports now with the addition of these schools, so that could help.
Is one going to be girls swimming?
Could be.
Is it? Rosary's probably got the best girls program in
I
the
know.
state.
Yeah, could be. And Wheaton St. Francis would be good in volleyball. So.
Is there anything that we need, you've been here 2 years now, as board members, that we should know about that needs to be thought about or change or planning? Or I know you run it by Kristen and Kevin, but, you do the reports, and is there any more color or things we should be considering about our sports programs?
No, I think the participation levels that I'm used to at the school that I was at were very well represented. I think when our kids go to schools, we provide a full competitive level from freshman on to varsity. And we show very well doing that, so I think that's a positive. Obviously, with the lack of outdoor facility fields that are adjacent to our high school, the travel situation is a constant, battle, so to speak, with teams making sure they get there and making sure everybody. I think that's being a road warrior, so to speak, and always traveling to a practice or a game. I think our teams do very well, considering they can't walk out the door all the time and go to practice. So I think that's one thing they can't change, obviously, but the coaches do a great job getting their kids organized and making sure that they're, present at all those things, because it is difficult, transportation.
The facility, obviously, is one thing I've been talking with the board about, trying to figure out a way to get work out something with the county so that we could play baseball, softball, possibly lower level soccer, both fall and spring.
That would be a huge advantage of things like that, because we rely a lot on our community parks and, relationships with the park districts in all areas around, and they've been very, we're very grateful to have that, because without that, we would not be able to play our.
One of the other things I asked the interim ADs to set up was to reestablish some of our booster enrollment, and I believe we have all new officers now, and
We do.
our numbers are up.
Numbers are up, we're over 70% membership over last year, so we have a full booster board, and they started at the last meeting we had in May, so very encouraged. Last year, we did a nice first step, and now take it to the next level. So Tom Hartwig will be the president, Brian Toomey is the vice president, Kathleen Keene is the treasurer, and it's looking pretty good, so I think we're going to be on the right road. So.
And then I plan on using Kristen and I plan on using Tom and John's assistants this fall when we post for an athletic director position. We feel that 3 years of using 2 part-time athletic directors, although they've done a great job, we think it's time to post that position and get a full-time athletic director, and Tom and John will help with that search process between all the different conferences they have been in and the different organizations they have been in. They know a lot of good candidates and also can serve on that committee, on the interview committee, to help review those candidates.
I have one question. Any news on our enrollment and our state classification changes?
That fluctuates, and the thing is, it goes off of the previous year enrollment, so we don't know yet. The state will put that out pretty soon, and we'll see how things fall. For example, as you know, cross-country was a 2A and track's a 3A. Wrestling last year was 3A, went to a 2A. We're kind of right at the bubble on a lot of these things. What's been going through the IHSA is maybe going back to the old format of a straight 25, 25, 25, 25. I think that would help us if they do that for 4 classes. We might slip back into that 3A. So as more schools add certain sports, that'll help us. But sometimes what happens too with the success factor that the state put in, it's the multiplier for the private schools. Sometimes by schools that had success, they bump them up, then we might get pushed down to a class that we should be in and can compete better in. So, but that fluctuates. That's year by year. We're always on the bubble.
Yeah, we're right on that.
So it'll be coming out this.
It'll be coming out soon, yeah, like in July, I think.
Okay.
So we'll watch the websites.
Well, I know you guys do a lot of work, and you've had a lot of success, and I'm glad the last couple of years you've been able to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
It's been fun.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you later.
Thanks.